If you grill it, he will come.
Hey.
Hey.
Is this heaven?
Nope. It's Fareway.
Chris Hassel, Andrew Downs. It's time for Instant Iowa. Immediate analysis and reaction presented by Fareway Meat Grocery. From the Channel Seed Studios, this is Iowa Everywhere.
Instant Iowa, live reaction to Iowa's, almost 29-13 win here on Iowa Everywhere, powered by Fareway. I'm Andrew Downs. He is not Chris Hassel, unfortunately for you.
Yeah, right. No kidding. Yeah, unfortunately for you, and really unfortunately for me, that I'm not Hassel.
My guy Ross Peterson is here. What's up,
dude?
Man? This is awesome. Thank you for doing this. Super excited.
Yeah.
We are also going to be doing a show on Black Friday.
Yes.
Live from the 𝗀𝗃𝗶𝗹 Buffalo Wild Wings.
I'm really excited about that.
So check that.
Yeah.
That's going to be a pregame show for the Nebraska game. We'll talk about that more. But we are live in the Channel Seed Studios, which happen to be at 𝗙ecie Las Vegas right now. We are live in Vegas. Thank you for doing this, man.
Dude, thank you. Thanks for inviting me to come on. This was a fun day. Good Hawkeye win.
Yes.
Caleb Johnson looks amazing again. Defense is fantastic. Did what you're supposed to do to an opponent like this, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
You always say you're supposed to beat up bad opponents. Maryland's not necessarily a bad opponent, but for Hawkeye fans, this is what we kind of needed to see today, that we can assert dominance in that way, both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I was hoping that it would feel like, and I think ultimately it did, like a one of those non-conference games. Not that Maryland is an FCS level school, but where the second half you kind of wear them, you've worn them down enough that you start to see a 𝗀𝗄𝗏 Moulton break one and go. Iowa rush for 273 yards, and so really dominated on the ground and didn't make Jackson Stratton do too much. And the things that Jackson Stratton did were pretty impressive.
Listen, Jackson Stratton's line, 10 of 14 for 76 yards. Doesn't that sound like a Spencer Petras line?
It does.
Doesn't that feel like a Deacon Hill line?
It absolutely
does. But you're
does.
right. He didn't make the big mistakes. He doesn't. He looks like Sunshine. What movie was that?
Titans.
Remember the Titans?
Yes.
Yeah. He
Remember.
looks like
He does. Yeah, Sunshine Ronnie Bass.
Didn't we call C.J. Beathard
We
that
did.
for a period of time when he had the long flow?
And he had that
suit?
blonde hair, so it really worked with him. But, I think you're right. And just to almost even have the confidence to go out there and play as well as he did, you feel good about it. This is a guy who didn't think he was going to be playing a couple of weeks ago.
And so confidence, two things. Number one, that they put Jackson Stratton in there. All of the comments, I know this is what coaches do, but man, all the comments were that they did believe he was ready for it. The game showed that they thought they had a game plan that was going to fit well into his skill set.
Yes.
The other one, man, though, the fumble with 𝗀𝗄𝗏 Moulton. So Moulton has that fumble, and I think that was in the first quarter.
It was that first drive, right?
Yeah,
where they had
right.
gotten all the way down to the red zone, and it was like, hey, they're going to score on this drive.
We didn't get to see enough slow motion instant replays. I didn't get to break that down enough, but the fact that they put Moulton back in the game as much as they did, Moulton ended up with 12 carries.
Yes.
That tells me that there was something in that handoff, maybe a little bit of Stratton's fault
Absolutely.
as well, but they had the confidence to go back to leave Stratton in the game, first of all, because you had no other option, and then go back to Moulton a couple times.
The quarterback situation has just gotten so bizarre at this point, and really, I mean, the last week, there's always, it feels like, some sort of drama with this program or over the last few seasons. This last, really, the last 72 hours have been pretty wild as far as news breaking and the school responding and Caden McNamara posting on Instagram, and it's really kind of hard to get a real grasp of what exactly is happening. I mean, I think we know the results of everything, which is Caden McNamara is probably not taking another snap as a Hawkeye quarterback. Jamari Harris doesn't seem to be taking another snap as a Hawkeye cornerback. But I was denying that Jamari Harris is opting out. It feels like maybe he is. Iowa's denying, or Cade McNamara is denying that he's been cleared to play. Iowa has amended Kirk Ferentz's statement from Tuesday saying he misspoke when he said McNamara was cleared. Just a lot of weird stuff, and yet despite all that, they go on the road. Not a difficult place to play. Only a handful of people at that game, but hey, got a nice win.
It's so funny how you said it, Andrew, because it's Maryland, man. This does feel like a non-conference game in some way. It does. And I don't know that Chris and I were having a really fascinating conversation during the game about this Maryland program and what joining the Big Ten has done for them. Money-wise, obviously, it's been a great thing.
Right.
But this is exactly what we were always talking about during that restructuring period and that over the last 10 years. Chasing those dollars for television was going to come at a major expense to the fans.
Yes.
And part of that was going to be interest. And when you, as Maryland, when you're hosting Iowa, it has to feel just the same way it does as us Hawkeye fans to say, yeah, you're playing Maryland. It feels like a non-conference game. And so that's what you get from the attendance. And I mean, I think you could even look at Iowa State and Chris even said this.
Yeah.
Iowa State's schedule with now the new revamped Big 12, it's going to take a while before you're excited about playing some of these schools.
Yeah, Cincinnati.
That's the one.
Because
a couple others, but that was what we were talking about.
Because they didn't sell that stadium out. This is one of their best seasons in program history. A chance to get off of a losing streak back to winning, and people just don't care that much because you're right. You don't have that juice involved.
And we know as Hawkeye fans, and looking what's happened with the basketball team, that juice, that momentum, that energy, it's a very real thing. That's
absolutely.
That's what gets you to the game.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we'll talk a little Hawkeye basketball.
Can we talk Hawkeye wrestling rather?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that.
My son's headed there tonight.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, my brother's taking him.
He'll be able to see it. We won't be able to see it on Big Ten Plus.
I got Hulu.
Yeah, Big Ten Plus. Yeah. So yeah, we're out here in Vegas having a good time. The Iowa Everywhere crew came out here. We love Circa, man. I haven't been here. This is awesome.
This is your first time here?
Yes. I've been to Vegas like 15 years ago for one night. But I've never been to Circa. I've never been to Fremont Street or like downtown Vegas. So this is really cool. And then really even like the Strip when you're a broke 24-year-old here for one night.
Were you here with your brothers?
No, I was here. A buddy of mine was getting married, so I wouldn't even call it. I hesitate to even call it a bachelor party because it was like three of us, and we weren't gamblers. One of the guy who's not the groom got like way too drunk, way too early. We did the roller coaster, and it like really messed up his head because he had been drinking.
His equilibrium,
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And so like he passed out at like 9 o'clock. Anyway, it was not like the Vegas rager trip. But we're having fun here, man. This Circa's a cool ass place.
Love this hotel. I'm glad they let me back in.
Yeah. I've heard some stories. Anyway, the game is now final. Iowa 29, Maryland 13. Jackson Stratton 10 of 14, 76 yards. Hit the open guys. Looked fairly confident. Didn't make big mistakes. Really all you're asking from this kid at this point is don't fuck it up.
And if the defense is playing like that, Andrew, that's exactly. I mean, that really has been the Ferentz. I feel like that's been the Ferentz quarterbacking mantra.
Absolutely.
Don't fuck it up.
Yes.
Don't put this thing in the ditch. The defense is going to play well. The defense is going to keep the other team in check. And if we run the ball well, and my God, this year they've been running the ball really well. And the offensive line has gotten, I don't want to say better and better each week because that's a cliche and it's not true with this case. But against certain opponents, this offensive line has looked fantastic.
Yes.
They did again today, opening up a ton of holes, and you still got to have that vision of Johnson and Moulton to be able to do what they did with it. But when you're running the ball that well, that's all you got to do if you're the quarterback for this football team is not put it in the ditch.
And this is this is the perfect like Kirk Ferentz game. If he could draw up a game, it's hard to imagine it would go much differently than this. You hold a team to under 100 yards rushing, 129 yards passing, 227 total yards. You only have to throw for 75 yards. You rush for 270, and you score 30 points because your defense plays that well. And I think that's a really good point, too. The defense, because this defense has not traveled well. The last 3 road games, they've really been eaten alive. The Michigan State and UCLA games were just head scratchers. You understand it with Ohio State, but this was a team that couldn't make tackles and couldn't get stops on third down, couldn't get off the field. And that wasn't the case today. They looked really good. And, Maryland had MJ Morris come in, and he played much better. And they had those couple of drives, and it got a little hairy there for a minute. But then Kamari Moulton broke that run, and really it was all over. So this was like a quintessential Iowa Hawkeye under Kirk Ferentz win.
Moulton ends with 114 and Johnson with 164.
Woo!
Moulton, obviously, the big one was that 68-yarder, but man, that's still a nice night from him.
It is.
Even outside of that, you're looking at 30 yards on 11 carries. Or no, more than that, 50 yards on 11 carries. Yeah.
So, Iowa ran the ball really well, held Maryland down, and it was good. We want to shout out to one of our sponsors, Hoodoo. Guess who's here with us as well?
I know who.
𝗙cie𝗰𝗶𝗹.
I know who's here from Hoodoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you, by the way, real quick about Hoodoo, have you ever, so like I'm a realtor and I have had clients that need stuff done around their house. I usually try to help people with that stuff, but my client Stephanie actually used Hoodoo to find a guy in her neighborhood that could help her with some maintenance stuff around her apartment, and then used him for multiple stuff, and then was able to get her neighbor to use Hoodoo to
that's awesome.
To do the same thing. So
that is so
it's
cool.
An awesome product.
It's the Odd Job Marketplace. Download the app. They just had their biggest revamp ever, so it looks better, it runs quicker. It's an awesome thing. And 𝗙cie𝗰𝗋 is here with us in Vegas. He's out at the pool with my wife right now.
Murph and Andy had a poll out the other day about who you would want to hang out with in Vegas.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't love the way that poll went, to be honest.
I am embarrassed for everybody that didn't vote for me in 𝗙cie𝗰𝗋. I'll just say that.
I agree. That was my vote.
You don't have any clue.
That was my vote.
You don't have any.
So we do, Ross, a Hoodoo doer of the game.
Yeah.
And it's not always necessarily like the MVP.
Okay.
Maybe it's a guy who made a play. Maybe it's there's been too many times we picked somebody on the other team.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the obvious kind of one today is Drew Stevens.
That'd be a good one.
Right.
New record with 5 field goals.
5 of 5.
Yeah.
He had makes of 54, 50, 49, 27, and 26.
Wow.
So a huge day from him. Plus that awesome tackle.
Yeah, that's right.
On the
and
kickoff
the
return.
54-yard. It's one of those things where like you watch that and you're like, man, that's good from 70.
Yes, and we always come back, but. God, they should have just tried. They should have just let him kick at the end of that Iowa State game.
Might as well.
Cade couldn't get the ball there.
I mean, he didn't get what? Yeah,
but let the kid kick a 65-yarder. Maybe that'd be like a cool Kirk Ferentz thing to do next week against Nebraska. If you're in that spot, hey, fuck it. Let's let him do this.
He's got the leg.
He does.
Yeah. So that's a good one.
Yeah.
I think Caleb Johnson would be another obvious one at 164 yards. What about Herkett with a couple of sacks?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
that's
2 sacks on the defensive side.
Yes.
And again, it'd be easy to pick Higgins, who I think. Do you have the defensive stats in front of you? I know he led the team in tackles. He had that interception.
He had 8 tackles.
Okay.
Interception, a pass breakup. You're right. Herkett had the 6 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. Quinn Schulte with 7 tackles.
Senior.
Yes.
Senior.
And Deshaun Lee and TJ Hall played well without Jamari Harris. I mean, Jamari Harris has been that island, right, all year where guys just don't throw that direction. It's why these other guys on the other corner have been picked apart so much.
TJ had the really nice interception.
He had that really nice
pick.
pick, yep. And so, really a good all-around day for the defense. I like your Herkett call for the Hoodoo doer.
Again, it's nice when you've got several options like this on the Hawkeye side,
yes,
and we're not looking at Ohio State going, well, which one of these 100-yard receivers do we give it to? So, I think a couple.
You brought up the elephant in the room there with how many seniors, right?
Oh, yeah.
And how many of these guys came back really kind of for this season, how much of this current team is built around this year, and then what things look like moving forward, where you assume Caleb Johnson goes, much of this defense goes. You have no idea what the quarterback situation is going to be like. Cade McNamara is not there. I would guess Marco Lainez hits the road this offseason. You need to go out and get a transfer quarterback. Do you get a guy to back up Brendan Sullivan or a guy to compete with Brendan Sullivan?
is that
there are a lot of questions moving forward.
You know,
here.
You're in one of those positions like with the NFL. If you're an NFL fan and your team is awful and you get the number 1 pick and there's a really good quarterback out there, you're smart enough to know that ain't going to fix all the. We got too many holes in the boat.
Yes.
For this one guy to fix all these problems. So and. I'm not saying there's like so many holes in the boat. I don't mean to compare the Hawkeyes' current situation to being the Browns, but is getting a quarterback. I guess I'll say my opinion on it. That should not be the priority at all. You shouldn't waste any money on bringing in a quarterback for several reasons. Number 1, too many other holes in the boat that you got to fix.
Right.
You got to replace a lot of starters on that are graduating. But number 2, we've done that. We've spent the money to bring in a great quarterback, and you get this production: 10 of 14 for 79 yards. If we're lucky,
right?
Cade McNamara has a game like that where he doesn't throw any interceptions and he does that stuff. So you could go out and bring in Arch Manning, and he's going to have these sorts of lines.
Yep.
And then you've wasted several $1 million when you could have brought in, I'm hoping, a few other pieces that can patch a few of those other holes that are going to be there now. So that'd be my take on it. Don't even put that as a priority. You're going to have Sullivan. You're going to have Stratton. I think you're probably right about Linus taking off. I think you're right about Caleb Johnson being gone, but remember, Kamari Moulton was Tim Lester's number 1 coming out of the into the season.
And I think that's a really good point when we're talking about all this, especially offensively moving forward, because Tim Lester hasn't had a lot of time. I mean, less than a year, right, in this position. Hasn't really had. I mean, he's had a good chunk of an offseason, but wasn't around during the December transfer portal window last year. You think the 2 quarterbacks who have looked best this season are 2 guys that he got out of the transfer portal since he's come, in Jackson Stratton and Brendan Sullivan. Jacob Gill is our best wide receiver. Even if Reese Vanderzee was back, I think he still has proven that he's Iowa's best wide receiver.
Vanderzee was great in the non-conference.
Absolutely,
and wonderful. Kind of a surprise guy that none of us saw on that depth chart to be a difference maker. Awesome.
But Jacob Gill has a look, right?
No doubt about it.
He's the best. And so what Tim Lester has done so far, when he's allowed to bring in the pieces that he wants to build an offense with, has been pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Even today, he scored 29 points. We would have given our left leg for 29 points over the last couple of seasons. And so I think you're right about that. I don't think you go out and get a big name quarterback or even attempt to, because there are too many other holes in the boat.
Wouldn't playing defense for the Iowa Hawkeyes be appealing?
And I think that is a good thing. You get to play for Phil Parker. He puts guys in the NFL. You kind of assume the offense isn't going to be great, and so you're going to get a lot of credit heaped on you, right?
Things, but it's
true. You're going to make more tackles, right?
Yes,
you're going to have more highlight plays. You're going to have more opportunities. And by the way, if you intercept the ball, this team turns into an offense and opens a lane for you to go get a pick six.
That's funny.
And so, I would think that, and special teams also. And I don't know that you need to go out and get anybody in special teams in the transfer portal, but again, the kind of reputation of these coaches and especially of those aspects of the program have to serve you well in the transfer portal.
Now, and I apologize for my ignorance here. Is Drew Stevens a senior?
I don't believe.
I don't think he is either. I think he is a. Are you looking it up for it? Thank you. Because really, on the special team side of it, you don't need any help.
No.
Weegen's going to be around for a while.
He's a junior, Drew Stevens.
So you've got everything locked up. You've got your punter,
had a great punt.
And Reese Dakin's going to be around for a few years. So you've got everything locked up there. I really think, and again, offensively, you're going to have Moulton. You're going to have a few of those receivers back. Quarterback's never going to be a difference maker. Focus on defense.
Yeah.
Focus on building that thing back into being something great.
Absolutely. Housekeeping coming in. Housekeeping?
If we're lucky.
You know what? Me fluff pillow. Thank another one of our great sponsors, Full Court Press. Ross, I'm going to ask you the hardest question I'm going to ask you all day. What's your favorite Full Court Press place?
Holy cow. That is really hard.
It's too hard, right? The fact that l-Bait and High Life are in the same building.
That makes it so easy, but they really are two separate places. And really, I used to spend a lot of time at l-Bait shop. I loved it. And l-Bait has I'm not much of a beer guy anymore.
Right.
I've kind of drifted out of that. Of those that are up there, the Iowa Tap Room, to me, is the one that is like, you can get an amazing meal at the tap room.
Yes.
They do really good pork chops. They've got those, the egg rolls are like, are they Philly cheesesteak egg rolls or something like that? They're amazing.
They are.
And I can say fucking amazing here.
You can,
this is
exactly.
So awesome.
Right?
I love it.
It's kind of weird at first, too.
Yeah. When you did it the first time, I was like, Andrew, hit the dump button.
Whoa.
Okay, but all of them, and everybody I think knows my affinity for Full Court Press. I love those guys.
Yes.
I love everything they do. They made Des Moines such a cool place. When I was a kid and turning 21, downtown was nothing like what it is right now. And the primary reason for that was Full Court Press coming in and changing with Royal Mile and Fong's and then Hessen House and then El Bait Shop and High Life Lounge, and it just totally changed that feel, and it made downtown a place you wanted to go again.
Hey, that's better than I could have done it.
Somebody said my name in all caps there.
Yeah,
Are they yelling at me?
Ross.
Thank you. Hi.
I think a lot of people are happy to see you.
Not everybody.
People are saying the audio's pretty darn good. Other people maybe not so much. Hey, we're in a hotel room in Vegas. You know, we're doing the best we can here.
If I were like 5 feet further over, and I mean like on the other side of Andrew, I'd be able to see girls down at the pool.
Yeah, exactly. You should just be happy that we're in a room.
If I do this. There we go.
We're in a...
I'm do the rest of the show like this.
And it's just all Midwesterners out there, too, because it's 70 degrees.
Yes.
And that's how... This
like, is the
my wife was like, I'm not going to Vegas and not going to the pool. I don't care how cold it is.
And like, I would say at about 9:30 this morning, walking down the Fremont Street, you could tell where a person was from 30 yards away. You could tell where they were from, because if they were bundled up and like all with their coat on, like, oh, you're local, okay, you're local.
E.M. Leonard, Jamari Harris wins the who don'ter of the game. I think we should talk about this a little bit. Again, we don't know for sure that Jamari Harris has said, I'm opting out to go to the NFL. That's what David Eichel at 24/7 reported. Iowa kind of refuted that last night, saying, hey, he's injured. That's why he's not playing. I guess I tend to believe David and that reporting that Jeremiah, I mean, whether or not he used these words, maybe he's suffered an injury and he said, hey, I'm not going to risk injuring myself further in these last two games. Regardless of what the situation is, this is going to become more of a norm. We've seen it with bowl games. We've seen, was it Joey Galloway all week was saying Indiana should sit their quarterback against Ohio State today because it'll hurt them less in the playoff rankings. Guys are going to start opting out.
He wasn't wrong.
No, that's the problem, right? Because it sounds ridiculous, and then you think about it, and it's, oh, wait. Mm-hmm. That actually makes some sense. And for a guy like Jamari Harris, it actually makes some sense to sit out these last couple of games. As bad as that sucks, and you see guys like Jay Higgins who are playing injured, want to play. Like, I think as fans, especially as Hawkeye fans, we've come to really respect these guys who play in the bowl game when maybe they didn't need to, or, you know, they wanted, like Jack Campbell, these guys who are, you know, dyed-in-the-wool Hawkeyes and bleed for the team and love it as much as we do. But these are also business decisions, and this is going to become more and more normal for everybody and also for us. Like, it's not just them that have to deal with this, right? It's not just big schools. It's not just big money programs. This is going to affect us little, you know, schools that could. And it's hard to swallow for a lot of people.
It's a change, and we hate change.
Yes.
We hate change. And I think that's the with the Jamari Harris situation and like David Eichel, and I think we could even include the Cade McNamara situation into this. Man, it sounds
that's the
like,
thing, the Cade McNamara thing too, right?
It sounds like such a weird way to try to walk the line, and but what if everybody's just doing their job? What if everybody's we care more than we should?
Yes.
Okay? These decisions are business decisions, and these young men have a lot on the line, and for some of them, this is their this is their one little shot at this thing happening for them. And I don't mean in life. We all know that. These guys can go on and have great, successful lives, and most of them will, well outside of football. But for this opportunity, it's a very, 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 very thin slice of time.
Yes.
And, man, we want to know all the details, all the dirty details, when it happens. We want to know right now. So
we do. We do.
I feel bad. I feel bad for the kid. I don't know. I have no idea. I could speculate on it, and that's not fair to them. David's just doing his job as a reporter because people want to know, and David's job is to find out the information and tell them the information they want to know. It's tough, man. And
it is. And it was a similar situation with Cade McNamara this week, where right here on Iowa Everywhere, on Legends and Listeners, 𝗙𝗪𝗍 and Scott Docterman, I mean, they walked very closely to the line of saying that Cade McNamara, has quit on this team, essentially. They didn't say that. I'm not saying that they said that. They're journalists. They know how to, say these things in a way.
And those two especially.
Yes.
Like, if people don't know,
they're not throwing shit out there to get an extra 500 clicks on their podcast, right? These guys are as plugged in as anybody and as good of journalists as anybody, and but then this, Cade McNamara puts out his statement. It's just this drama, which I guess just comes with it.
Again, man, people just doing their job, right?
It is.
They're protecting the kids. The kids are trying to protect. The kids are doing what they think is best for them, and like for people, they're like, well, Cade's just doing this so he can still get paid.
Right. Exactly right. Why are we doing this?
I've taken money. Yeah,
Exactly. And I've had a couple of people since the Jamari Harris news came out. So in the last 36 hours, asked me, "Hey, do you think Caleb Johnson's going to play in the bowl game?" And I don't know. But I wouldn't. I don't.
I think most people. I'll piss people off. He shouldn't.
That's the thing. He probably shouldn't. Right.
It's an exhibition. He came to college to try to get through that little sliver window of opportunity and get to the NFL, and he's made it. He made it into the gap. And you, who've been cheering for him this whole time, are now saying, hey, risk it. Why? So that I feel better on Christmas Day.
Yes. Yeah. So that we can beat Missouri.
Exactly. Right.
In Tampa.
Right.
In a game that nobody
lose
cares
by
about.
less.
Yeah, right.
In an exhibition in Memphis, Tennessee, or something like this is especially for Caleb. And by the way, Caleb goes... hand the ball to Kamari.
Yeah.
And when Kamari gets tired, you got Jazzy and Patterson sitting there waiting to take. He didn't have a great game today. And I got my stats here looking at the camera. Sorry. It looks like I'm looking right into...
I like
5 carries for 8 yards. Is that what that you have? 5 for 8?
Long 3.
So, man, but Travis Justice, he loves Jazz. He thinks that Jazzian is maybe the most talented of those 3 backs.
Interesting.
And that just shows how talented that group is, I guess.
Freedom Tire, another sponsor of Instant Iowa here on Iowa Everywhere. We appreciate them. They have locations in Des Moines, West Des Moines, Urbandale, Altoona, and Ames. We love those guys at Freedom Tire. Shocktober is over, but they still got you covered. Well, Ross, people love that you're here. I appreciate you doing it.
Hey, elated to be here, and we'll talk a lot more about a lot of things. I'm sure as things unfold. But it's great to be here. It was really nice to get a little break away. This could not have been more perfect timing.
Yes.
For me, just personally, to be able to get a couple of days to get here to hang out with you and Judy.
Well, and then
see Chris and Ashley.
I was so excited about that. And then on Wednesday afternoon, Chris Hassel calls me. He said, "Hey, CBS just called. They need me to do a college basketball game in the Bahamas on Saturday."
What a rough life,
dude. So I'm flying out Friday. I have to fly back Sunday morning to be on the air for like the football stuff. He's like, but I'm not gonna be able to do Instant Iowa. I was like, hey, I'm gonna be in Vegas with Ross.
Perfect.
Let's do it.
Perfect.
And then you and I.
So thanks to Chris too, by the way.
Yeah.
If he happens to be or watch this or whatever, thank you.
And
for
then
letting
you
me
and I
celebrate,
will
man.
be at the Coralville Buffalo Wild Wings at
Yes.
4:30 on Black Friday, leading up to the game. They have tickets to the game they're going to give away during the show.
Very cool.
And like really good tickets. So even if you have tickets, it'll be an upgrade.
I have tickets, and I will be going to. So the last Hawkeye game I went to was the Connor Stallions game, dude. It was Michigan.
No way.
Yeah, I took Eli. We sat in Bill Blank seats, the front row seats in the north end zone, where you have to scream death threats at the officials in order to sit there. And so we went to that game, and I got home, and that was the last Hawkeye. I got home in time for sound off, but that was the last Hawkeye game I was at. And then I'll be going Friday with my buddy Ed.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, so it'll be, are you rooting for Nebraska or Wisconsin today? So they're both 5-5.
So, dude,
the one thing is, like, we could keep Nebraska out of a bowl game again if they lose today
have talked
and
about
lose
this.
on Friday.
The Wisconsin thing, my relatives from Wisconsin have built an endearing relationship for me with Wisconsin. I'm rooting for the Badgers. My cousin is at the game right now. Wisconsin's always kind of been one of my, also favorite teams, if you will. And
that's not the case for me.
I understand. And I've never liked Nebraska. I've never really. I've known a couple of really nice Nebraska fans that have been wonderful and represent that team well. But I hated Scott Frost so much. But I do like Matt Rule, and I think he's going to be a real success there. And he's going to.
I think I have to root for Wisconsin today.
How about that?
Because
feel?
It does not feel good, Ross. It does not feel good. The problem, and the problem is when I'm watching the game, there's no chance I'm rooting for Wisconsin.
I know
right?
what you're saying.
It's that thing where it's like I can tell myself, I can tell you. I do the same thing with the Cyclones. I don't hope the Cyclones lose, but if it's the fourth quarter tonight and they can lose in some hilarious way, I'm absolutely in my heart. Like, even if I don't want it to happen, in my head, my heart's like, come on, Utes.
Here's how
it's the way it works. And that's how it's going to be with Nebraska and Wisconsin.
Here's how on the fringe that is with me. If my Cyclone friends have been snotty to me that day,
yes, exactly.
Then it's like, I hope they fumble.
Ted Flynn's here with us. He was talking shit about the Hawkeyes.
That's all it takes. Like, Ted, run your mouth just a little bit.
Exactly.
Just a little bit, and I'll flip my switch.
But anyway, so like my hope is that Nebraska has not reached bowl status because it's not that it's again, bowls don't matter, but it's hilarious, objectively hilarious that Nebraska hasn't been to a bowl since before Donald Trump was elected the first time.
That's amazing,
right?
And they still have their sold out streak with all those empty seats around it. It's amazing.
And so to be able to there's not much left for Iowa to play for. No. Let's get Caleb Johnson his. Let's get Jackson Stratton another 70 snaps.
All right. So when you say,
but we can beat Nebraska.
Yeah, and I think that those are really legitimate things to play for. When you say let's get Caleb Johnson his, what do we?
Honestly, at this point, I don't know. That's a good question because the big time like Heisman, even Doak Walker talk are probably off the table for him. I think
you're right about that. Yeah.
So really, I guess it's he would have broke. I think he broke the record. So much of the game today we weren't able to watch with audio because the Ohio State Indiana game was on in the casino. But he scored a touchdown,
by the way,
right?
Clown show, by the way. We had probably 30 people in that bar that were Hawkeye fans.
Yes.
We met a guy from West Des Moines.
Yes.
Met a kid that was a bartender that went to Des Moines East.
Crazy.
It was awesome.
Yes.
So anyway, we and the kid that was his friend played football for your dad.
Yeah, exactly. Wild.
I don't remember where I was going with it, but why
we
I brought
didn't have the audio, and there was one Indiana guy.
So we get to the bar, and they had like 6 TVs on the Hawkeye game, and the audio for the Hawkeye game.
Yeah, because Chris had let them know ahead of time, like, hey, we're coming, reserve these tables, we want to watch the Iowa game.
We get to watch like maybe the first 4 or 5 plays with the audio, and then this dude from Indiana, one guy who wanted to watch I get it, it's a top 5 football game, but didn't we all know it was going to happen?
Judy.
What'd you
finish the podcast and come to the pool.
Yeah,
she said.
I didn't. I gotta go buy $80 swim trunks when we go to the pool.
But no, so there is stuff. I guess the thing, Caleb Johnson now has the program record for rushing touchdowns because he passed Sean Green today with his 21st. So I don't know where he's at with the yardage. I don't think it's probably realistic for him to pass Sean Green based on what he's done the last couple of games. I don't have that right in front of me, but I don't think that's the case. I think he could still get in that top 3.
He needed.
So I guess
he needed to average like 200 a game over the last 3.
I guess that's what I meant is, but even that doesn't feel as. Let's get him to wherever the Doak Walker ceremony is, right?
So I was even thinking, and you're right, that pipe dream of him even being like a Heisman finalist.
Yeah.
And I didn't think he was ever in legitimate contention to win the Heisman Trophy unless you had a huge game against Ohio State.
Yes.
So I think you're probably right. Whatever that means to be in that conversation for Doak Walker, and improve that draft status, and however you do that, because we all know with running backs in the NFL what that's going to mean.
And I mean, I guess you and the 70,000 other Hawkeye fans who are in Kinnick next Friday can shower love on these guys, right? And like especially guys like Jay Higgins who have done so much for the program.
Back for this
yes, year. Nick Jackson. I mean, I've made this point a couple of times, but we focus so much on the 3 big transfer portal additions that Iowa has gotten that have been complete busts in Caden McNamara, Caleb Brown, and Caden Proctor. Right? Those are the big names that we got, and none of them have worked out. They're all going to be gone from the program.
By the way, the 3 biggest names in the transfer portal.
At those times, 100%. Yes. But Nick Jackson is a transfer portal guy who's been a huge part of this defense the last 2 years. Jacob Gill is a transfer portal guy. Brendan Sullivan is a transfer portal guy. Jackson Stratton. So I liked what you said earlier about, hey, you don't need to go out and get the one big guy. Let's get a bunch of pieces.
Yeah.
Let's fill these holes. Let's build a team for next year.
Let's not rush down the hill and fuck one of those cows. Let's walk down and fuck them all.
That's the perfect way to end. This has been Instant Iowa on Iowa Everywhere. Ross Peterson, Andrew Downs. Join us at Coralville, Buffalo Wild Wings, Bud Light. A bunch of those giveaways neutral. They're bringing us, Anheuser-Busch is bringing us there along with Buffalo Wild Wings. So it's going to be a fun time.
When you said neutral, you mean like the little seltzer drink?
Yeah, exactly. The drinks.
Yeah, I've had a few of those. I like those better than Bud Light. I'm not much of a Bud Light guy. It's not the politics.
Too woke.
Yeah.
Too woke. See, Shane Gillis and I are Bud Light guys.
It was the dilly dilly. I never let him recover from the dilly dilly bullshit. So
you were ahead of the curve on that one.
Did you see the dilly dilly T-shirt at the airport?
No.
Yes.
Oh my god.
At the Las Vegas airport in 2024, there is a dilly dilly T-shirt.
And they say we're behind the times. Come on. All right, the Hawkeyes win 29-13.
Thanks for letting me do this.
Thank you for coming on. We appreciate everybody joining us and hanging out. We're going to go to the casino, to the pool. We're going to go have fun in Vegas. The production here wasn't great because I wasn't focused on that, so I'm just going to hit end. Peace, guys.